This is a video response for Mr. Repsion. Hello Daniel, how are you? Now, for the sake of getting the audience caught up to speed, I'm going to play a highly condensed version of your video.
So recently I have been reading a lot of books on the topic of feminism. Feminism is something that I've been trying to understand more and more and more because I admit it is a very big subject that entails a lot of negative or positive connotations depending on what your view of it is. I watch Laci Green a lot of the time, and she is a feminist, classifies herself as a feminist. She made a video on feminism just a few weeks ago, which I watched and I was like, wow, this video was awesome. I agree with it. Like, almost everything in that video I agreed with. Does that make me a feminist, that I agreed with all the stuff that she was talking about? I don't know. All too often people say that I am a feminist because I defend women's rights a lot of the time here on my YouTube channel. But at the same time, when I speak of feminism, I usually speak negatively of it because, well, a lot of people don't know this, but I address the radical side of feminism. Overall, I don't really see the big issue, the big negative thing with feminism. Rather, I don't label myself that because I don't want to deal with the negative connotations of people calling me that, because it's like, are you a Republican? Yes, you're a Republican. Well, if you're a Republican, you're against, gays, you're against abortion, you're against all these things. Oh, you're a liberal? Well, you must be against gun control. Do you see where I'm going? Is like, once you take the label, if I started calling myself a feminist, people are automatically going to associate my beliefs, my perspectives, my opinions based upon that label. And that's something that I don't want in regards to classifying myself as a feminist. People say all the time, I think you're a feminist. Well, I consider myself a humanist because that is the more comfortable position that I hold, that I want equal rights for both men and women. It's just like the same in regards to my channel with religious people. I respond to a lot of radical fundamentalist Christians or religious folks. But in no way do I associate those radicals with people who classify themselves as a simple Christian. I don't call them radicals. Just like when I hear someone classify themselves as a feminist, I automatically don't disassociate myself with them or say, ew, I don't want to talk to you, because I've seen from the feminists that I've interacted with, one of my friends, Brittany, she considers herself a feminist, and she's awesome, and we really don't disagree on a lot of issues in regards to feminism. So I guess the whole point of this video is that I'm sitting here not knowing if I should continue being a humanist, or I should maybe perhaps go with the negative connotation of labeling myself as a feminist, although I don't really know what feminist really entails because there's so many different definitions and it's defined by so many different people as different things.
Now, the central question of your video is attempting to define feminism, and should you label yourself as a feminist? Now, I think that it's very difficult to define feminism for several reasons, partly because of the caricatures and stereotypes, the man-hating lesbians and whatnot, and I think that part's more or less self-explanatory, but also because it is both a philosophical position and a movement, and it has a history behind it, and at different points in its history it had different goals, objectives, and whatnot. Now, I would make an analogy to something like atheism. An atheist is simply someone who doesn't believe in the existence of any sort of God. But what about this so-called atheist movement that people have now? Some of them would like to see all religion go the way of the dinosaur. Other people would just like to promote science. Other people have all sorts of different perspectives and agendas within the atheist movement. It is not a single monolithic thing that can be defined in terms of a single agenda. I mean, you can define what an atheist is, but the atheism as a movement is much more difficult to categorize and often contradictory. And the same is true with feminism. At its most basic, feminism is the belief in the equality between men and women, stereotypes and caricatures aside. And the feminist movement, on the other hand, what are its goals and objectives? That really depends on the times and on who you talk to, and that's where things start to get muddled. But more fundamentally, another primary confusion is over what is equality, what is our metric of equality. So I'm sure you've heard people say that feminism is irrelevant now, women already have equality, and so on and so on. And any claims to the contrary with examples will just be met with this kind of tug of war of, oh yeah, well men this, oh yeah, well women that, oh men this, women that. You know, this back and forth to establish that, you know, things might not be great for either gender, but, you know, they're equal in having just as many problems or something like that. But you have kind of more fundamentally at the political level the difference between equality of opportunity, which some people would claim that women already have. So say the right to vote means that men and women are equal, versus equality of result. And even within things like equality of result, you can have widely differing points of view. So again, some people would say that equality means equality of opportunity. Women can have jobs, women can have a career, women have the right to vote, therefore they have political and economic equality with men, because opportunity is all that equality really means. Whereas other people would say, well, no, okay, women have the right to vote, but they're drastically underrepresented in politics, and this matters because you have men making decisions over, you know, the reproductive rights of women and other issues affecting women. And so in certain senses, the equality of result really does matter. And so you get this kind of contrasting battle of, you know, feminism is irrelevant because women already have equality in the sense of equality of opportunity, versus a kind of what would really be a more liberal position of women don't have equality because of, you know, these drastically different results. Now, that is something you have to sort of decide for yourself, where you come down on that, results versus opportunity. But you can go further than that. I'm not sure if you ever read the Harrison Bergeron story by Kurt Vonnegut, where he imagines, it's a short story and I'll post a link to it. He imagines a society where there's a handicapper general, and, you know, so highly attractive people will have to wear masks over their face to hide their attractiveness. Strong people have to wear weights on them. Smart people have to wear this thing that gives them this, you know, buzzing in their ear to keep them from thinking too hard. Equality in that sense could be quite dystopian if you try and make everything equal. And so many of the debates over what feminism is sort of play off of this idea of not only what is the nature of equality, but what type of equality should people strive for. And I think that's something to keep in mind when you're, you know, thinking over these issues of feminism. So what I'm getting at here is that feminism is more like a tree than a monolith, and if you can find a branch that you feel comfortable sitting on, then you probably could safely label yourself a feminist. Now, as for the negative connotations, and that being a reason to avoid the label, this always perplexes me when I hear this, especially from atheists and other people who freely label themselves with things that have negative connotations, at least in the minds of some people, but yet when it comes to feminism show this kind of double standard. Well, you know, I'm willing to take on all the baggage of being an atheist and all of its negative connotations, and I'm willing to take on all the baggage of etc., 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 but feminism, whoa, I don't want people thinking that I hate men or that I'm some crazy lesbian or something like that. Whoa. You know, that's a bridge too far. And my first suggestion would be to try and understand and put into perspective who exactly is saying these things, and do you actually believe it, right? Because as you say in your video here, you recognize the distinction between radicals and, you know, your everyday feminist, and that you know plenty of feminists that you consider to be, you know, good people, and you agree on most things about feminism with them, but you don't want all these crazy connotations. Like, if so, you know, it's sort of like atheism, because I know, as I understand it, you're an atheist, Daniel, right? how many times have you wanted to bang your head off a wall because you've seen for the umpteenth millionth time someone claiming that, you know, atheists just hate God, and, you know, they're claiming to be an atheist because they just want to sin, and deep down they know there's really a God, and blah, 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 you know, or just whatever crazy accusation people are throwing out about atheism that just, you know, you want to bang your head off the wall because it's so inane and so off base. If somebody says something about feminism and you know that it's just a bunch of exaggerated BS, why would you, why would you back down from that label to spare, you know, the negative connotations of what you know to be garbage, right? Or just even more basically, if you have a position, why not stand your ground on that position and turn the tables on them rather than being cowed out of that position by someone else because of their preconceptions? That's what it comes down to. All right, I think that I see this constantly happening, that people, you know, they're concerned about issues that would otherwise be labeled as feminist. They have a point of view that would otherwise be labeled as feminist, but they back away from that label because they're being cowed out of it, because it's not popular, because the moment you say that, all these people dogpile every possible crazy accusation in the world. You know, there's a huge backlash against feminism that's been growing for decades, really. And you said you were reading books about feminism. That's one that I would recommend. It came out over 20 years ago. It's called Backlash by Susan Faludi. It came out in '91. But it's still highly relevant and informative. And I think that when dealing with these misconceptions and the negative connotations, it helps to understand where the other person is coming from. You know, it's easier to stand your ground when you realize what they actually represent. And it's easy to also sort of diffuse confusion and say, no, this is your preconception and this is what I actually stand for. Because I really just don't get the whole back down thing, other than a kind of feeling that they don't want to be swamped by the tidal wave of people who are against feminism for a variety of different reasons, the whole anti-feminist movement. And it's very, very popular to trash feminism right now, and you want to be on the winning side, not the you don't want to be on the brunt of all of that. Simply do a search, you know, on YouTube of the word feminism, and at least, of course, results may vary because of the way that search results work. But the last time that I did a YouTube search on the term feminism, pretty much the entire first page and into the second page and on, after the first couple of pages I stopped looking, but pretty much the entire first page was videos that were negative towards feminism, trashing it. I mean, it's not that difficult to see which way the wind blows and go, I don't want to bear the brunt of that. But that only allows all of the misconceptions to perpetuate and the concept to be muddled. You know, here's my advice. Figure out what exactly it is that you stand for, and when somebody throws a bunch of misconceptions at you, stand your ground, turn the tables on them, and say, no, that's ridiculous, this is what I believe, and so on. And this doesn't just go for, you know, feminism. This can be for anything, for atheism. Because, again, when I saw... I've been on YouTube for a long time, and when I saw the atheist movement come about on YouTube, and when it was really popular to make YouTube videos about atheism, there were countless people that would respond to the accusations about, you know, atheists just hate God, atheists just want to sin, atheists this, atheists that. You know, the misconceptions were being pushed out there by, you know, Christians and other believers and other people, and the atheists fought back and pushed back against that. And my perception is sort of that it's really so like one-sided on the issue of feminism that people avoid the label, and so they don't push back against the misconceptions or stand their ground for what they do believe, because they don't, you know, it's just they're being cowed out of it is what it comes down to. It's a really one-sided battle at the moment, and I don't really see that as a good thing, because it allows preconceptions to just perpetuate themselves, and the debate doesn't evolve at all. It just becomes this one-sided conversation where, you know, people get shouted down. And again, like if you're a Democrat but you don't particularly believe in gun control, say you don't believe it is effective or would work, then if somebody says, you know, I'm a liberal, oh, you don't believe in gun control, just say, you know, you want to ban guns, you don't believe in gun control, like wouldn't you be inclined to say, like, no, that's actually not what I believe. Like, don't tell me, I'll tell you what I believe. You will not dictate to me on the basis of your preconceptions what I believe. And even if some of your preconceptions turn out to be true, then this is what I believe, here are my reasons, I'm going to defend them. Don't, no matter whether it's feminism or anything else, again, don't let people cow you out of your position and shout you down because of their preconceptions. Like, stand your ground. And I think that you're kind of almost there. As far as the humanism thing, right, I don't see why feminism and humanism are mutually exclusive, why you would have to drop the title humanist to adopt the title feminist. You could say, you know, I believe in many things. I believe in humanism. I believe in feminism. I believe in, you know, improving the lives of all people, and, you know, I believe in the importance of these feminist issues. I believe in the importance of these men's issues. I believe in the importance of these issues of race, these issues of, you know, poverty, and etc., 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 etc. Like, stand for what you believe rather than letting other people's preconceptions define how you label yourself. It's sort of like with agnostic. A lot of people will, you know, retreat into the term agnostic to avoid all the baggage that comes along with atheism. And I see a lot of that happening, you know, with the whole feminism thing. It's very analogous. People, you know, they would rather avoid a confrontation and having to deal with people's, you know, preconceptions, and, you know, just dodge the bullet than you know, stand for what they believe. And so, again, I have no absolute definition of what feminism is, because I don't think there is an absolute definition, but also I don't think that you should be cowed out of taking it as a label or an expression of part of your beliefs just because of other people's misconceptions. So I hope this video was helpful, informative, or whatever. Have a nice day, Daniel, and keep making videos.